Pleb Underground, another one live. To the comfort of your home, alongside you on your drive. Gotta move fast, pick 'em up, Sonic. Use Tails OS like a magician iconic. Already wet, straight gin, no tonic. If we sound orchestral, thank the Philharmonic. Barrel of money, what DK backs? I'm a Mario type, I want BK lax. Make sushi like wasabi, ZK snacks. Take Belushi, Jim, ain't much CK lax. Welcome back.
That's right, everyone. Welcome back. Pleb Underground Live. This is our fourth episode.
May the force be with you.
That's right. See, like maybe that slip up was supposed to happen. Who knows? And guess what, guys? You know it. Joining us, this is definitely long overdue. We've got CK, who is the Director of Financial Freedom at the Human Rights Foundation. Dude, really appreciate you joining us on the Pleb Underground Christmas special live stream. Yeah. Sweet.
Good to be here.
Just
to
prove
be like,
you're
he's
real,
speechless.
could you read Phil's t-shirt for us just to prove that you're not a bot?
Can he read it?
Bitcoin literally is a call of retarded people. Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Welcome.
Oh gosh, that's absolutely awesome. Okay, so let's I think, you know what, before we dive into it, CK, man, it's been a long time since we've spoken. What has been going on? What have you been doing at the Human Rights Foundation? The last I spoke to you, the last we actually met, I believe, was 2022, and you were at Bitcoin Magazine. So I feel like a lot has happened since then.
Yeah. So I left Bitcoin Magazine summer of 2023, and then in the fall of 2023, I joined HRF. And when I joined HRF, HRF is, a lot of Bitcoiners know HRF because of what we do in Bitcoin, but HRF is a much bigger organization than just Bitcoin. It's kind of like freedom in general. One of our main advocacy points is we defend democracy, and we advocate against and resist dictatorships and authoritarians. But we do a lot of stuff within that. We do stuff around fashion and like clothing. We try to expose when slave labor is used in production of clothing. We do stuff around getting information and into places like North Korea and Cuba, showing people that there's a world outside of this. We have been really kind of cutting edge on using encryption. And that is kind of why we got into Bitcoin. We got into Bitcoin as early as 2014 when we started. We did a fundraiser and we used Bitcoin as, we had a Bitcoin address and send it here. And yeah, I mean, that the rest is kind of history. We started doing programming around Bitcoin in 2017. At that point, Gladstein started really taking Bitcoin super seriously. In 2020, he launched the Bitcoin Development Fund, where we started giving grants to Bitcoiners and Bitcoin projects and human rights advocates that wanted to leverage Bitcoin. So, that's where I kind of came in. It was like a fund, and they started putting on some events. And now we do a weekly newsletter. It's like a complete research report effectively every single week of what's happening in human freedom and financial repression across the globe. So that's the Financial Freedom Report .org. So you can find that there. We have a website, the CBDC tracker. We are tracking all CBDCs across the globe, keeping that up to date pretty much. As CBDC events happen, we update the tracker. So, and I want that to be number one on Google. So it's a lot of work. But we're getting there. And there's 4 other CBDC trackers, and all of them are CBDC is financial innovation, it's magical. And HRF CBDC tracker is look, these are panopticon technologies. The majority of countries that are innovating with CBDCs are dictators who are trying to use financial repression against their people. So I think it's very important that we get on the front page of Google when you look up CBDCs, because otherwise you're going to see like Nigeria being like e-Naira adoption skyrocketing, like, which is actually not even true. It went from 0.05% to 6% when they did a cash rebrand and forced everyone into it. So it's like, no, that's not a success. Like, that's massive failure. You had to like force everyone into your app, and you didn't even get a really critical mass of your population on it. So like, we need to tell the real stories, and that's why we're doing the CBDC tracker. And we are now expanding into like, we're trying to educate activists and nonprofits about like how to use Bitcoin, pretty much Bitcoin 101. And we're doing quarterly webinars now. And the last one had 110 people in it, where we're like showing people like, here's how to get Bitcoin. Here's how to spend Bitcoin in your area. Here's how to avoid KYC. Like really like solid stuff. We're getting people CoinKite, what's it called? Tab signers.
Nice.
If they complete all 3 days. So, we're doing some cool stuff around Bitcoin. And that doesn't even include, putting it on the Oslo Freedom Forum, which in my opinion is like the most high signal Bitcoin event out there, minus Bitcoin plus, which we are, big supporters of as well.
I attended the Freedom Forum for the first time this year, and it was phenomenal event. I talked about it on the show. There was this I want to say Iranian rapper that was like sentenced by the regime to like death, and I wrote about him, and like since then he's been freed and pardoned, and phenomenal stuff.
HRF helped get out over 3 people this year.
The show was the event was really beautiful because it like merged like lots of different people that are trying to make positive change for the future. I think Bitcoiners are a significant part of that, but we're looking maybe further in the future than other groups, right? There are a lot of activists, right, that are trying to make differences now that kind of don't quite have the luxury of looking a few years into the future with some of the like the solutions they're looking for. So things like eCash, maybe there's help there, or the way that HRF were put on this conference and kind of merge these different groups and enable kind of education between them was really quite incredible. It was great event. If you haven't been, you have to pick it if you don't want to go to. You have to choose Vegas or Freedom Forum.
I know that part's a huge bummer. But both you if you're in Europe, you get Oslo Freedom Forum. If you're in the US, you get Vegas, and a bunch of people from the US are going to come to Oslo anyways. I helped invent the Bitcoin conference, so like the fact that they're conflicting for me sucks. This is going to be the first one in the US that I've missed. But yeah, man. The world where HRF is right now is like there's a bunch of activists, which you perfectly described, like and nonprofits and NGOs that you perfectly described that need Bitcoin, but they like can't grok it. And then like there's the people who are building the tech and they're not talking to them, and like they're like, why don't you get it, idiots? That's kind of like the attitude. And so like HRF is kind of in the middle, like trying to be like, okay, how do we communicate Bitcoin better? And then simultaneously, we're going to like the builders and we're like, here's what people need. Like, here's like the, people needs, let's fund this privacy solution, or here's a bounty for a privacy solution because people need like more privacy. Mixers got banned. CoinJoin is under attack. Like, we need something better. Like, these are the kind of like, relationships that HRF finds itself with the Bitcoin Development Fund. And, thankfully we're not the only ones doing this type of work, but it's like really important work, I think, for just like continuing to push Bitcoin forward incrementally.
I think to many Bitcoiners, HRF is a 3-letter agency that really likes Bitcoin, but it does seem to do a lot of good for privacy. Can you talk a little bit more on that? On how you guys are helping to fund privacy in the Bitcoin space.
I mean, I think one of our very first grants was for was for was for Join Market, Chris Belcher. I think that was our very first grant. So privacy is kind of like built into the DNA of the Bitcoin Development Fund. In general, like if you want to oppose the overwhelming power where you're at, you need encryption. So, and you need to have decent amount of privacy. And I think we can all be real that like Bitcoin is not perfect. Like you can use Bitcoin privately if you're good enough at what you do to not fuck up. But there's like a lot of ways to fuck up. So we need to lessen that. Like we need to like make the UX of privacy on Bitcoin way, way better. So, we've been, and like, we don't know all the perfect ways to do it. So here's some examples. This year we funded CISA research. So this doesn't mean like, hey, we're going to push a soft fork or anything like that. This is saying like, hey, someone look into this and write a paper about CISA is like, and try to like evaluate like from all the credible sources, is this a good idea or not? So CISA is a way cross input signature aggregation. It's part of what is, no, not CTV, is like a comment that came up, but CISA is a way to, effectively, it's a way to kind of like merge your signatures as part of a transaction. I'm not super technical, and I'm waiting for the paper to come out. So forgive me for kind of like not knowing.
We're not really a technical
everything
stuff,
about it. But yeah, the idea is it both is a cost savings and it kind of removes some of the heuristics on chain for a single signature versus multi-signature versus many transactions. So, it's like, can you make privacy more affordable than not having privacy on Bitcoin? Like that's like an interesting incentive flip that HRF is interested in. So, that's one example. We've been really interested in eCash. That's not perfect, but obviously eCash bearer tokens, if you get the trade-off of a custodian, you get really good privacy. So that's been super interesting. That's been blowing up. We are some of the very first support for eCash and Fedi, Cashew and Fedi Mint. So that's been really awesome to see. We had a bounty claimed. We got a bounty split by two different proposals for encrypted DMs on Nostr. So it's not 100% Bitcoin related. And I think like
Freedom Tech
both have legs. There's even more proposals that are out there now. So, again, like we're not solving all the problems, but like we're trying to like get some of these things going. And again, like, we do a little bit of bounties, but for the most part, most of our grants are people apply, hrf.org/BDF apply. People apply. There's a few categories. We ask you a bunch of questions. We ask for references. We do some due diligence. And, so like the market is giving us the proposals. We're evaluating them. And then we're allocating money. And for the most part, we have too many proposals for the money that we have. Like we're always running out of money and we have too many proposals. And, next year we're going to allocate more money than we did last year. Every year we've been allocating more money. And, there's a lot of really good proposals out there. So, Bitcoiners around the world, keep sending them in. And, honestly, it makes my life hard and easier. I'm glad I don't have to go hunt for like good projects. Simultaneously, it's like, it's hard to be like, damn, like which ones do we like reject? Which ones do we, continue to support? Which ones do we support for the first time? These are hard decisions. Yeah, that is our webpage. So you can check that out. Perfect, Juan. Thank you.
Sweet. Yeah. Let me ask you this. Are you seeing any projects where it's, or the conversation around, because I have two questions. This is my first one, privacy by default, because this is something that, essentially a lot of times when people develop software for whatever reason, right, obviously they want to make it accessible and easy. So essentially a lot of privacy stuff or security features kind of get hidden as advanced features. And if you know about them, you'll turn them on. So I don't know if you can give us any clarity on that. Like, I understand if, you're not, privileged.
Yeah. Okay. So like, let me just be super clear when it comes to like what we are supporting for the most part is app layer stuff.
Okay.
Like we are supporting some core developers like Calvin Kim. He's working on Utree XO. But like that's a very nuanced person. for the most part, we're supporting app layer stuff. We're big support to BTC Pay server. So in terms of like privacy by default, like you said, that's a wallet level thing. Of course, we would encourage it. A lot of here's the thing, like Bitcoiners like us, like we need, like from on a tech level, we need to make privacy by default, just like we need to make that part of the UX where like you just use it and it's private, right? That's where we need to get to. As long as there's like kind of options and things like that. My gut is that most wallets stick to more basic Bitcoin transactions, just because like that is simpler. The last thing wallets want is someone scans a QR code and it doesn't go through, right?
Yep.
And then they're like, what the heck, why isn't this transaction working? And for whatever reason, maybe it's like a legacy Bitcoin address and like privacy by default. I don't effing know. But look, once it's interoperable, once it's easy, once it's simple,
yes.
Once it's like obvious that it's just the best UX for builders to do, they're gonna do it. So I'm not gonna like shame people. Like maybe some people want to go around and shame people and like, hey, you're users, you have that right. But that's my mentality is like, how do we make, and that's why the CISA thing is interesting, is like, how do we make privacy like the obvious option from just like an economic perspective, from like a usability perspective, how's that like the best UX?
I like that. My other question actually kind of goes back to your CBDC tracker. Might be a stupid question, but are you guys also tracking stable coins? Because and again, right, maybe this has to do with the Twitter, with the echo chamber that a lot of us are in, but some of us, including myself, see stable coins as CBDCs, or
yes, I agree with you.
CBDC type of, I'm thinking of Tether, right? I'm thinking of the PayPal coin. I'm thinking of Coinbase's coin. That's
Tether too. I used it, like there's actually a tweet from me in 2018 where I was like, USDC and TUSD are USD coin or Fed coin. And now, like honestly, I think like yes, I was right about that. But
Tether's
like,
the euro dollar, and USDC is the local one.
Yeah. I was big wrong by excluding Tether, because I definitely think Tether fits into that too. Because like Tether said, we onboarded the FBI. We work with U.S. regulators. Now, Tether's banker or broker or whatever is the Commerce Secretary and is like been on stage everywhere with Trump. So it's like that feels pretty close, like to me, like they're part of the U.S. apparatus. And beyond just saying like, okay, they are like the stable coins are actually the USD are like actually US CBDC.
Yeah.
In my opinion, none of the other CBDCs are actually viable. They are the stable coins are actually the only viable CBDCs out there, and I think they're going to continue to be the case.
So I think it's really like that
the CBDCs are the actual the stable coins are the actual CBDCs. Like this idea, like Nigeria is going to have the e-naira, like that's not. It's already failed multiple times. Like what is thriving right now everywhere in Nigeria, Lebanon, China, everywhere, Canada, Mexico, USDT, USDC, those are thriving. All the other stablecoin projects are failing. And, the Fed is onboarded into all of them, so it's like, to me, it's like, okay, we already know what CBDC worked. It's the US dollar one, and it's here already.
Yeah, I think that's well said. Obviously, I agree with that. But I definitely,
can we change the CBDC tracker to reflect that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's tough. I gotta.
Can we add that? Yeah, can we add the stable coins?
A lot of editorial conversation, because it's technically not a government project, and like really, our angles, like these are mostly dictators who are trying to make these projects. So that's weird. Like that's definitely an edge case where like, are we doing a good job on that? I don't know.
Kind of also begs the question, right? So the government issued ones seem to not be doing very well, but yet the corporate issued ones seem to be thriving. Specific, right? Obviously, I'm talking
Just
about
to give you
Tether.
numbers, like market cap of Tether's about 140 billion, USDC 43 billion. The next is just under 6 billion.
Is that by design?
I mean, yeah,
right?
just call it
That it's the
USDC and
corporations?
USDT, like between those two. That's all of it, and it's big, right? I'm pretty sure that's bigger than Ethereum, so that really does like kind of prove the thesis that it's like the US dollar versus Bitcoin. That's the battle, right? And personally, that I subscribe to that. It's the dollar milkshake theory. I think like the dollar milkshake theory is accurate if you like add on the fact that USDT and USDC are also part of the dollar milkshake. And then, it's really Bitcoin versus that, like that kind of like monstrosity.
You're not quite there with the numbers. Like the two
Ethereum's about
stable
half
coins
of that.
are about half of Ethereum.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Word. All right. Well,
for now.
I don't look at market cap that often, to be honest.
I literally never did. Like, and then we're talking on the shit coins.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this time when we're kind of reconverging on the next bull market, like I think the stable coins will overtake everything else. They may overtake Bitcoin, but they'll for sure overtake all the altcoins for sure.
USDC is behind Doge right now.
No, I mean, I would say like just like the whole, like if you just say combined cap, I think that'll happen. I mean, if you just want to say Tether, like probably Tether will get close to that. Like I really do think Tether is super dominant. It's part of the government. There's no way it would have got, like I think Tether owns as a corporation owns like 4% of all bond like treasuries. There's no way it would have gotten that far unless they got greenlit. So like Tether is the man now. And I think it's going to keep getting bigger. And that's like the US play for, continuing the dollar hegemony.
So it also kind of makes me think of this, right? Do you think that somehow the strength of these corporate issued and created stable coins reflect kind of this larger shifting view away from, I guess you'd say, nationalism, right? I guess away from being patriotic to a certain extent and more towards this kind of hardcore corporatism? Because it's interesting, right? Like, doesn't that kind of reflect, like, it's kind of weird, right? You've got governments that are issuing this stuff and people immediately are turned off, right? But yet some company is going out and issuing press releases, right? And creating this type of, creating these types of currencies. And yet somehow like they're doing it successfully. So I don't know.
The funny thing is, like, I don't write a lot, but I wrote about this topic in 2020 on Bitcoin Magazine, sovereign company thesis. But I think like pretty much big enough companies plus Bitcoin equals sovereign org, especially if you build in like some sort of geographical jurisdictional arbitrage for like the key holders or, key stakeholders, that kind of thing. So I definitely think that that's the direction we're going. That's the sovereign individual thesis. In this case, like, honestly, I don't know if it's necessarily a corporate thing. Americans feel patriotism when it comes to their money. I think a lot of other, maybe British people who live in the UK also feel patriotism when it comes to their money, but a lot of other people don't, right? Even like people in France or Germany, like they've had their money changed multiple times in their lifetimes. Like millennials in Germany have changed their money in their lifetime. So I think like people's patriotism towards their government currency is way less in most places. So yeah, I mean, I think people want dollars in general, and you can get a wallet that works with dollars pretty easy and people accept it, especially in places that have really failing currencies. Like it's really prominent. Yeah, I mean, like I was in Egypt, I'm Egyptian. I was talking to some like distant cousins, they're middle class, but they're dealing with like hyperinflation and it's like fucking them up. He was like, I did the math on my house and it's like I made money on my house, but I didn't actually make any money. Like I actually lost money. He was like, I'm going to try Binance to get USDT. And, I was like, yeah, I mean, makes sense. Like that's what people are resorting to. They just want dollars because dollars is what actually holds value, even better than real estate.
It's interesting. It really is. I don't know. I kind of go back and forth between this. So when did you write that article? Did you say 2020?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm 4 years behind you, but as you said that, I was like, of course. I'm like, of course he wrote this already. Like everything
Yeah,
has
December
already
9th.
been done in Bitcoin. It's crazy.
Everything has, man. Like,
It's
and
so
that's not even
crazy.
my idea. It's all sovereign individual.
Which is a great book. There's a lot of the Bitcoin books that I will not recommend, just for my own personal reasons. But Sovereign Individual is one of them that I can wholeheartedly recommend. Ulrich, do you have any specific questions for CK before we move on to some more generalized topics of conversation? Because we're going to talk about the strategic Bitcoin reserve, of course, and maybe we'll talk about some MSTR because why not? Bitcoin doesn't seem to exist without it anymore, and maybe we'll even take a look at some CSW stuff. But yeah, before we get into all that, any questions for the man of the hour?
Yeah, CK, don't spend too much time on this because we got stuff to do. But when it comes down to, we saw El Salvador take a loan from the IMF recently, the 1.3 billion or something like that, and they're probably buying Bitcoin with it right now. When you have the Human Rights Foundation, HRF, out there as an NGO, providing an avenue for liberty, providing an avenue for all types of use cases for the sovereign individual, at least at the local side or the state side. How are you guys counteracting or working with countries to not need that reliance on this International Monetary Fund, dangling carrot, if you will?
Yeah, well, just to react to what happened, if they are buying Bitcoin with it, just think of like the game theory switch. It's just
Very similar
wild.
MicroStrategy, right? Yeah.
I mean, like that is, if they actually do that, then El Salvador wins that trade big time. But beyond that, HRF doesn't work with countries because really, and a lot of Bitcoiners don't know this. It's not like that well known, but our mandate effectively is like we don't deal with democracies at all, even though like there are gray areas there. We only deal in what is considered to be a authoritarian country or a hybrid authoritarian country, and that is determined by our board of lawyers, which country, like they have a map. And we are working on publicizing that map. And eventually we're going to actually have like a literal open source map of like the country lines, because there isn't like an undisputed map of country lines around the world. And like HRF clearly will have very strong opinions about what the country line should be. So like, therefore, like if we want to put that out into the world, like we need to do our own like map that we put out. So like we're working on making that available. But like, so because we don't work with democracies at all, we don't like touch them. We are only working like in regions that have authoritarian regimes. And therefore, we're not even trying to work with the governments there because like, fuck them, like they're authoritarian regimes. So therefore, we're only working with like the resistance in those places. So it kind of puts us in a position like we're not really talking like,
you're not interacting. Yeah.
We're not talking about like monetary policy and shit like that with them. Like we're talking about like, how do you continue financing when your bank account gets rugged?
Right.
It's like a kind of a different conversation. So it's, that's where HRF like primarily focuses. Obviously in Bitcoin, like we have to do activities in the West, a lot of activities in the West in order to support Bitcoin. And like, ultimately that supports people that we care about across the mission. But it's not like super clear. But yeah, I know we got a lot of Bitcoin stuff to talk about and I got a lot of opinions. So let's get to it.
Here we go. So hold on, before we dive into it, we do have a question from ACP. Does HRF have an opinion about whether stable coins are a CBDC Trojan horse?
So I talked about my opinion a lot earlier on this podcast. Yeah. So that was my opinion. HRF's I don't think HRF has a hardcore opinion on that. I mean, I would say Gladstein probably has his own opinions that he's publicized. I think Gladstein has skepticism as well as understanding for usefulness. Like stable coins are also really useful to a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, it's a tricky subject. I think where HRF definitely has a strong opinion is that CBDCs and the issuers of stable coins have a lot of power, and that power commands a lot of responsibility. And if there's popular stable coins that are controlled by authoritarian regimes, that's going to really alert us. If there's popular stable coins that are controlled by democracies, that's kind of outside of our wheelhouse, even though that might not actually be a good thing. Like HRF will be the first to say, like, democracies aren't perfect. It's just like in the world of like all the fucking problems, you gotta like bite off what you can chew. We got about 100 people. We're
You got your priorities.
We're biting off this priority, which is like in authoritarian regimes where no one else is paying attention to. How do we help those people? And what we found is that in democracies, even though they're not perfect, you're allowed to form an organization and try to fix the democracy. Okay. In authoritarian regimes, you're not. That's why HRF is focused on those areas. So I hope that makes sense.
A lot of sense. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. I mean, look, you got to pick your battles. You know how it goes. I worked with a guy that, once upon a time told me this piece of wisdom that, that I keep all the time, which is this the hill you're ready to die on? Right. And if it's not, then that's it. Right. That's the answer. And like, there you go. You guys are picking your battles. All right. We're going to switch gears and let's talk about the strategic Bitcoin reserve. Obviously, there's just so much there's just so much contention, right? Like in terms of Bitcoiners, in terms of just, some people for it, against it, right? There's the memes, right? With obviously, the guy watching his, his girlfriend with another guy and it's a Bitcoiner and it's the Fed and, it's so like, obviously I
missed that one.
You didn't see that one? Oh, that was great. It was like, yeah, it's
send it to me soon. That was funny.
I'll find it. I'll send it to you. But it's just brutal, right? Yeah, essentially that the state is quote unquote cucking Bitcoiners, right, with the strategic Bitcoin reserve. So not looking for HRF's take here. I'm looking for CK's take. What is I'm very curious, man. How do you see the strategic Bitcoin reserve? Is this part of the game theory, necessary evil? What are your thoughts? Oh, you're muted.
People know me as one of those like assholes who just says everything is good for Bitcoin. So, I absolutely think it's part of the game theory.
It is, even if we hate it.
Yeah. Look, I think here's how you logically get over it. Everything is good for Bitcoin. Not everything is good for Bitcoiners. Okay. So depending on where you live, like, you can have a better or worse time with this whole thing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have much else to add. It is inevitable. Okay. I know a bunch of like America bulls. Like, there's the macro people. Everything is macro now. So there's a bunch of people who are like China bulls or, global South bulls or whatever, all this stuff. El Salvador bulls, Latin America bulls, Argentina bulls. I know a lot of USA bulls and like really smart USA bulls. And I would say like strategic Bitcoin reserve, like the Trump presidency, like being like effectively one of the very most cutting edge, innovative presidencies when it comes to adopting Bitcoin to some degree. I think that that's an accurate statement. I think that shows that like the USA bulls are kind of right. Like America continues to innovate for a reason and resist, totalitarianism well and effectively, even though it's not perfect. And like, if we think that Bitcoin is this like tool for freedom, like then of course, like some sort of embrace of the strategic Bitcoin reserve is going to be a big part of that. So yeah, I mean, the people who are talking to Lummis's people are some of like the most trusted Bitcoiners, like hardcore early Bitcoiners. I don't know if they even know what they're getting themselves into. Obviously we're all in kind of like open water here. Yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say. I guess
let me ask you this.
I know, Ulrich, I think you have different opinions than me on this. Is everything good for Bitcoin?
Wait. What makes you think? Are you just passing the buck? You're tired of talking?
No, I mean you're just
I have
reacting
more questions.
to me. You know, you're like rolling your eyes a little bit.
No. I was actually agreeing with you. I mean, do we want more from CK? Did you have a follow-up question, Phil?
I kind of for a split second forgot it there, so you can go.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. Because
Wait, I just remembered it.
Go.
Quickly.
Yeah,
Sorry,
prioritize
very
CK.
quickly. I
Yeah.
just wanted to ask: do you actually think the government is going to print money in order to buy Bitcoin when they have already proven that they simply don't need to do that? So, like how do they get it? Right? How are they going to get Bitcoin?
They ever print money? I think
Well, they're
eventually
printing
all governments will print money to buy Bitcoin as long as they can.
Didn't
my understanding is
HRF
this
donate
big bill-
money to the Policy Institute, which basically caused this, strategic Bitcoin reserve kind of movement a little bit? So it's basically
They're
HRF's
advocating
fault,
hard. They're one of
It's
the orgs
HRF's
on the
fault,
Hill
no?
advocating hard. Lummis's office is also advocating hard. Everyone has their own version. Sailor released his own version. But like, dude, here's how I think of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is this giant meme virus. Adopting Bitcoin is like, yes, buying it, owning it, saving in it, but it's like the mental awareness of Bitcoin and then eventually thinking in Bitcoin. That's ultimately like Bitcoin adoption. So like the fact that people are talking strategic reserve
acquires you, right?
Yeah,
That
exactly.
kind
The
of
fact that
vibe.
people are talking strategic reserve as like a topic on the Hill, like that is a topic. Like, I'm known for saying no one is bullish enough. Like 4 years ago, if you would have said that in 2024, people are going to be talking about this, we would have already had like a Bitcoin president or presidential race. People would have said bullshit. No, like it's maybe in 2030, maybe in 2035. Maybe when I have kids or grandchildren or something like that, so it's like no one was bullish enough on that, and I think like these things like it just keep compounding incrementally, and it's just gonna snowball. So yeah, like we will see whether or not strategic Bitcoin reserve is good for Americans. There's a lot of Bitcoiners out there who are concerned that it's going to cement Bitcoin into like an asset. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. Eventually America is going to 6102, all the custodied Bitcoin. All these things are on the table. Absolutely. I'm not saying like you shouldn't be worried, but like Bitcoin's permissionless. Bitcoin just is a strategic asset globally. Like governments are going to start to fuck with it. Like it's already happening. Bake that into your game theory. Like don't get mad. Like that's not going to change anything.
Oh no, exactly. I can accept that. I can definitely accept that. I'm sorry, Ulrich. What were you going to say?
If it was my turn, like I guess I could say that I generally agree with what CK is saying, that everyone has Bitcoin as an optional network, and it doesn't matter who wants to buy Bitcoin, you can't really stop them. You can't really stop people from, hey, I have this pound of fiat or this mound of fiat, and I want to exchange it for hard money, hard internet magic money. Then that's their optionality. The only thing I think about is the psychology that is behind the people that would be deciding this or deciding to not do this. And when I think about when this bill may go to vote, which would probably be in the summer time frame, that would be probably about a year after it was initially announced or initially drafted. I just see Bitcoin in the middle of a bull market, probably all cylinders driving. We could be in high 100s, 200s, maybe even 3s, and you got those House of Reps looking at this like, you want me to buy Bitcoin with my 2 years in office, and it's at the top of the market, prices never seen before, and then if this sucker goes down even 20%, I'm going to get primaried. And so when I think about that, I'm like, maybe this generation of people that are seeing MicroStrategy go crazy or Bitcoin do things for this cycle, maybe they need to see it another time. Maybe they need to take another whiff at the bill in 2027 or something like that, 2026. I don't see a bunch of congressmen saying, let's buy at the top. And so therefore, I am strongly bearish on the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill. And I don't care who's promoting it, Saylor, Lummis, Maulers, CK, No, I'm just playing. But like, I don't care if
I don't care
if I was, you know, I don't care. I know that all these people in the
Bitcoin.
That's it. And of course, CK, you've always been like, you're bullish on Bitcoin. I'm not bullish on this SBR. I think I kind of align with the HRF with that. I don't think it's great for people, but I don't think it matters because the Congress people are going to say it's not great for us.
See, I think
Okay.
I think
Oh,
it's
go ahead,
bad for
Walter.
Bitcoin, but good for people, right? Like, I think these are moves that aren't for Bitcoin. These are moves that are essentially nationalism combined with Bitcoin. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Like saying SBR is bad for Bitcoin, Walton, is like saying like email, you know, like North Korea adopting email is bad for email. It's like not really.
So
I mean,
do you
we talked a bunch on the weekly show about the general like onshoring of Bitcoin to the United States. If you look at the ETFs, like more and more Bitcoin is held by US regulated custodians. I don't know. To me, I go, well, maybe when the numbers get extra ripe, then maybe they, you know, the government just take the lot. Maybe they take 3 million, maybe they take 4 million. You know, who knows? You know, the more and more goes to the custodians, it's a riper and riper honeypot.
The custodians are the real attack vector. Totally.
Yeah.
But the problem is that like even things like MicroStrategy and the ETFs are just putting it into the same custodians.
Right. Coinbase holds
Right.
like a lot, so much of this, and BitGo, and you know, El Salvador even I think hold it with BitGo and other. You know, it's like,
well, BitGo is multi-sig, but yeah.
So you remember in 2018, the narrative was the institutions were coming, right? The institutions are here, right? They're coming. Like, this is it. This is the cycle. The institutions show up. I remember this because I was listening to this. I was very excited. I don't know if you remember the institutions.
I remember.
They did not show up
The rocket ship
as
emoji.
right. I mean, but they did not show up in the way that was, you know, touted. And then we did get the institutions this cycle. Right? Like now all of a sudden we have the ETF. So it took, you know, this kind of goes back to what Ulrich was talking about with the congressman and stuff like that. And, you know, you expect me to be buying
Ulrich
here?
Nailed it.
Yeah. So I think that I mean, that makes sense, right? And if we look back, I hate to use history as saying, well, look, you see what happened, that means it's going to happen again. No, you know, it's not necessarily going to, but it's probably going to sound a lot the same. So,
you know, I think that marijuana legalization in the US or maybe even in Europe, I think Germany recently legalized marijuana.
Similar adoption path.
Yeah, I feel like
Yeah.
that is probably similar to like marijuana needed so many at bats to start kind of getting wins. And yeah, I don't even think even in the most like progressive places it like won early, right? Like
It didn't.
I could see like if you say America, the Republican controlled government of America is the most progressive place for Bitcoin, it probably is going to take a couple at bats and the right timing, right? Like I think your analysis of like people
What you
not
just
wanting
said.
to get primaried, you know, especially 2 years after the first 2 years, that's like, you know, that's when the max opposition against you is coming after you, trying to like flip houses, etc.
It's funny. I just said this in the chat. Like, not even a right-wing congressman is going to look at this opportunity. They're not going to see it as an opportunity. They're going to see it as a risk. Bitcoin is a risk-on asset to the people that are being proposed this bill. Again, if all of us were in the room, all of us were congressmen, yeah, I'll vote for, yeah, USA buy Bitcoin. USA buy Bitcoin. I don't care because I'm buying Bitcoin now. But we're looking at people who most of them ain't never touched it. They're traders, they're insider traders. They're maximizing their wealth in ways that we can't even imagine. They know exactly what's going to happen 10 days before it happens on Wall Street. So now it's like they don't know what's happening with Bitcoin. They're newbies. They're going to be afraid. I guarantee, though, it will happen at one point, and I think it would probably take another year past, I would say 2026, 27. Once we get through, again, I'm a cycle theory guy. I think a lot of you guys are. If we have this correction, and then all of a sudden, oh wow, it didn't die, like it bounced up off of 80 and it's going back up. Then it's like, hey, you guys want to talk about the strategic Bitcoin reserve again? I wonder where it's going this time. Then they're going to come back to the table with a different mindset.
Everyone needs the I should have bought.
I should have bought.
And
That's
then
right.
it crashed. Oh, and then it didn't die. And that happens to everyone. Like it's this, like they got in and then they went through like a cycle and then they saw it survive. And that happens at different points.
That I think you nailed it. That was exactly my experience. Except I was actually buying as I was obviously not believing, but I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm like, I don't know. I've used this thing. I know it works, so I don't understand all this other stuff, but I'm going to buy it anyways. So
What were you buying?
Things and stuff online. No, I come from the medium of exchange crew, right? I came to Bitcoin. There was no NGU yet. It was all just
back when Bitcoin was sexy.
Yeah. I was like, hey, this thing is useful. And I live in a place that's kind of crappy. So, that's what happened there. Okay. All right. Anybody, any last thoughts on the strategic Bitcoin reserve? CK, everything is good. Wait, nothing is bad for Bitcoin. That's what you put in the comments.
That's true.
I can't disagree, even if I have to cope and seethe about things that I don't like, right? That's my issue. That's not Bitcoin's problem, right? And I've said this before, Bitcoin is also for the enemies that we don't approve of, right? Like, I know that we have the typical saying of Bitcoin is for enemies, but I think that a lot of us imagine these enemies that we do approve of, and really it's just everyone. So, so again, it's always this rosy frame. Okay. So no last comments on the SBR? No?
Don't be buying no Bitcoin on that Bitcoin bank that Michael Saylor offers. I'm just saying. No, I'm just playing. Continue.
They're going to give you yield, man. They're going to give you yield. Don't you?
But where does the yield come from?
Yeah.
Well, it comes from exploiting a trick with capital markets that publicly traded companies can do. It's still a shitcoin, though, guys. So yeah, if you hold
everything is bullish for Bitcoin.
I'm
imagine these obscure, valuation misunderstandings create these giant black holes of value into Bitcoin.
Yep.
Do you guys remember the what was it called? The carry? Gosh,
the carry trade.
It was the
carry trade with Japan.
Oh no, it was the GBTC carry trade.
Yes.
So I mean, this was like this was the thing that really pumped up the big 2022 bubble, 2021, 2022 bubble.
So where we went to 69K the first time before the China miners. Sorry?
The GBTC cash and carry trade. Pretty much you could buy GBTC at
discount
value if you're an institution. So then you had a 6-month lockup. And then in that 6-month, so theoretically, if the premium is 2x, so you buy Bitcoin at 1x, you wait 6 months, then you could sell at 2x. It's zero risk. The risk is that GBTC could go into a discount, which it did until the ETF came out, pretty much for 2 years of a discount. So then all those people who got locked in, then it was like, oh, you bought Bitcoin for $1 and now it's worth 0.6 or 0.7 of your dollar, and they all got fucked. But yeah, so that bubble that was created by that is what pumped up the Bitcoin price, to 69 twice last cycle. So I mean, MSTR it's kind of the same, pump mechanics, and I would argue Bitcoin's always benefited from pump mechanics. MSTR is just the latest iteration, the most sophisticated iteration, the one that the bond markets are fucking with, the one that is getting added to the NASDAQ and potentially the S&P 500. So, yeah, bullish Bitcoin. Should you buy it if you want to degen a little bit? But I won't judge you, nor will I encourage it. Honestly, some of your boomer friends might prefer to buy MSTR, even though it's way more degen, just because it's it's a company.
I'm degening.
My dad, I was like, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. My mom bought Bitcoin. Dad ignored me. Then I was like, MSTR. He was like, yes, MSTR. Let's do it. So to each their own, I guess.
It's so much easier it's sadly, right, when it comes to somebody from a TradFi system, you're talking to them about Bitcoin, and it's you're kind of trying to cross a bridge. But with MSTR, it's like, hey, you understand stocks, right? So take a look at that. They're buying Bitcoin. You know what? The sad thing is that the majority of people, they just want exposure to the volatility, right? Everybody, it's kind of ironic, right? Because you remember the old saying about Bitcoin, how the volatility is bad. It's too volatile, all this crap. Like, is anybody pretending that they don't know how money is made? Like, volatility is opportunity. Anyways, it's just such nonsense. So I'm very curious, though.
Bingo. Only truths have been said on this podcast.
Well, and retardedness. But okay, let me ask you this. Yeah, what do you want, Ulrich? This isn't scripted. But I am curious, though. What do you think about the possible MSTR blow up? Because and again, it's not something that I want, of course, because I know that that's going to be terrible for Bitcoin optics, and the price is going to go down, and people are going to cry and all that crap. But like, I've gone through so many cycles. I'm like, I'm 45 years old. I've watched a lot of markets pump and dump. So like, I'm putting Bitcoin aside, right? Like, we understand the fundamentals of Bitcoin. We understand we understand Bitcoin's qualities. But MSTR is still a publicly traded company and bound by those rules. And I don't know. I think they can over-dilute their shares. I think that they could put themselves in a situation where they cannot meet their commitments if the unfortunate correct market dynamics occur, right? The correct market environment occurs that, I don't know, they may have to actually sell their Bitcoin.
What's the worst that can happen? The worst that can
They
happen
gotta sell their
is
Bitcoin.
that the premium goes away and then even becomes a discount on their Bitcoin holdings.
And they have to sell Bitcoin.
And then people, there's an incentive to, buy MSTR.
Buy MSTR instead of Bitcoin.
You're buying
for the people who
Bitcoin
don't
at a discount if you buy MSTR. So
prop them up a little bit more.
And okay, let's say they dilute their holding. Well, the whole reason that they're diluting the holding is to acquire more Bitcoin at a lower price, which is they say is now. So it's like, okay, well, they diluted you in the future and bought Bitcoin now. Like, I think 1,000% of Bitcoiners would say that's probably a good strategy.
Will.
Hey, like,
that's
hey,
right.
HRF, pay me for the next 10 years now, and I'll give you 10% on the back end. I think, and I'll buy Bitcoin with that. I think, like most Bitcoiners, like, if you can do that with your employer, like, you probably would. Maybe that's too crazy, but you probably say at least that's probably mathematically a good bet. So that's what MSTR is doing. I don't know. Like, it seems like a pretty good flywheel. At the same time, I could totally see there's like a little bit of Ponzi-nomics going on there. Like, do I own some MSTR? Yes. Can it go to zero and it'll affect me? I don't care. It's pretty much my 401k from before I got into Bitcoin. It's just like all MSTR now. But yeah, the rest of my money is all in Bitcoin. Like, I don't really care about what happens to anything else, just because I'm, as long as I protect that, that's the most important thing. I don't know. Like, I'm not like one of those people that like cares what other people are doing, and I don't think what other people are doing or what other companies are doing is like good or bad for Bitcoin necessarily. Usually it's good for Bitcoin. So I'm kind of chilling, I'm sitting on this magical ride, just watching, Bitcoin take over the world and, just trying to appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that stuff. I just can't help but think of these things because I went through the .com bubble. Like, I was in college when that happened, like, so that happened. And then there was 9/11, which I know has nothing to actually do with the market, but it did cause a massive market dump. And for those of us who were looking for jobs at that time, especially in the tech sector, that you got your ass handed to you. So at least I did. So there's a bunch of these situations. So I just, it's like when I look at
Bitcoin
MSTR,
could definitely crash the economy in the future.
Like, think of it. Yeah, I've thought of that too, right? Like, okay, so what about the narrative, right? That all of this attention going to Bitcoin, it's specifically to pull one of these massive bubble rugs, right? Like,
well, the SBR
think of mortgage crisis, right? Look at well, they tried with FTX, right? Like, to a certain extent, but if you look at
I'm sure there's going to be a 10x FTX. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
But I'm sorry, Phil. I actually got to bounce.
I'm
in a
sorry.
minute
Yes.
here. Duty is
Is
calling,
that
unfortunately.
the half hour?
Oh, okay, dude, this flew by. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. How can everybody find you before you jet?
Yo, it's been great. Happy to come on. Thank y'all for the flexibility with moving the times around. Like, y'all are the best. And
You.
yeah, so on Nostr, primal.net/CK, and then on Twitter at CK_snarks. And then, yeah, HRF.org/financial freedom. Check it out.
Hey, real quick,
Yeah, sorry,
I rather interrupt you real quick. The
Yeah.
reason I'm even here is because of CK back 3 years ago or 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, even when I submitted an article at Bitcoin Magazine, he responded to me within an hour and said, "We love it, we'll take it." And it's been downhill since then. I can't thank you enough, brother. You're
Let's
always
go.
loved. Yeah, man. Anyways, get to your business. I appreciate you. Want to have you back soon.
Well, hey, appreciate y'all, and good times all around the world with all you gentlemen. So it's always a blast to chat. And yeah, Bitcoin Mag was a good time. HRF continues to be a good time. I feel like I'm the most blessed guy in Bitcoin. So yeah, cheers.
We're gonna
Merry
get you back
Christmas.
on, man. Thank you so much. Take it
And
easy.
we're not leaving. We're not
leaving. We're
leaving.
still here.
Y'all
Show
stay
goes on.
here.
Yeah,
J-Dub, Matthew.
Hey, show must go on. All right.
There we
He's
go.
out.
Yeah, he's out. Okay, cool. That's awesome.
It was great, and I
Yeah.
love him, and I think he gave me another perspective on the HRF. Again, I'm always like kind of critical on NGOs and what they do, in collusion with governments. The U.S. Dow for Democracy, USAID, how they, Ronald Reagan privatized them so that the CIA didn't have to do a lot of the dirty work back in the 80s. And so it's like, you always look at those nonprofit organizations saying like, what are they really up to? But they have a role, they have a focus, and they're not here to deal with those democracies that may be kind of weird. It's like, hey, that's not our job. We're trying to get to people where it's like they are literally being killed in the streets. They're literally being here is there's a civil war that's been going on for 3 decades. And so they do good work. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, me too. I definitely I don't have any issues. You know what I mean? It's like this goes back to what I was saying before to him, but it's like you got to pick your battles, right?
Mhm.
Is this the hill I am willing to die on? And the majority of the time, you are not willing to die on this hill. So it's like, yep, I'll just move on. But yeah, going back to the strategic Bitcoin reserve, I'm sorry, I cannot get this out of my head. Because okay, so
They're buying it. They're buying real quick. I'm sorry. They're
Yeah.
buying it. They're buying it to sell it to clear up the debt. Like that's the whole catch. It's like like 1 million Bitcoin, and then they're going to like dump it because they're going to be 60 trillion in debt. Like, are you ready for that? Like, honestly, I rather than America just print into oblivion and then we fracture into smaller countries. I'm sorry. Like that's just my spin. But go ahead.
I just got totally confused with myself. I said SBR, but I meant MSTR.
MicroStrategy. I did want to drop that one, but let's go to MSTR. Yeah.
I was like, I said SBR, but that's totally like I'm listening to you and I'm like, wait a second, that has nothing to do with MicroStrategy.
MSTR. Let's stay focused. Right?
I'm sorry. Oh God. Yeah, it's hey, it's Christmas time, so not that my
Cheers.
brain isn't
Water.
mush anyways. Okay. But yeah, going
Wait,
back
you
to
guys think MicroStrategy and the state are 2 separate things?
listen, I'm playing pretend, okay? Let me pretend. They're not the same, Walton. Okay? Not a government institution. Okay? It's a private company. They don't work for the government. Okay, anyways. So the obviously I'm being facetious. I think they
Yeah, and the PayPal mafia and
their government
Peter Thiel
contract.
took over the government. So we'll see how things go.
Big Mac Maxi there. Okay. So going back to the MSTR thing, right? Okay. So putting Bitcoin aside, it's a $400 million company, from what I understood. Okay. So I just, this is kind of what I picture, right? I understand that right now the terms are favorable and it all seems like it's a total no-brainer, right? And this is often how these situations theme. And I'll give an example. The dot-com bubble, right? Investing in pets.com was a no-brainer, right? Investing in a lot of those companies were a no-brainer. Granted, if you were smart enough to purchase Microsoft, eBay, Adobe, any one of
But
those
at
companies,
some point the game stops,
you
right?
were good. Yeah, bingo. At some point their game stops, right? So it's like if you take it back, to this, right? The mortgage crisis was also a no-brainer. What do you mean? Borrowing against your house? A no-brainer. What do you mean?
Housing always goes up.
Yeah, you can't afford this house, you will be able to afford it. It's a no-brainer. So here we are right now having our Bitcoiner no-brainer moment, right? Which is MSTR is just going to be able to use this flywheel thing, and it's a no-brainer. It is until the market conditions do not align with it. Like, I get it, right? Everything is good while things are working, okay? It's great while things are working. And of course, somebody can come back and say, well, Phil, they did survive the last bear market. Indeed, Ponzi schemes can last decades, all right? Enter Bernie Madoff, okay? Like, you think these things can't last forever? And no, I'm not insinuating that Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy is a Ponzi scheme. I'm simply illustrating the idea that a properly constructed bubble can have legs, okay? It will have a decent enough foundation to support some weight. Anyways, I'm not telling people don't buy it. I'm just saying don't buy the hype, okay? It's totally different. You want to own the shares, you want to do that stuff, that's fantastic. But like, just don't start smoking your own hopium, And maybe I'm smoking my own copium.
But that's the crazy thing about what's going on in the Bitcoin space is that it's fractured without anyone admitting it's fractured. It's not like a Bitcoin fork. Like, we're literally celebrating MicroStrategy as if it is a part of hyper Bitcoinization. I see all these quant boys or these finance bros that weren't here like a year ago, and all of a sudden it's just like MicroStrategy Mondays. I'm sorry, but my boy is doing MicroStrategy Mondays, and I'm like, he used to be. I'm not gonna. We don't need to. It used to be the Bitcoin Maxi Central. Bitcoin, and now it's like. Then you see, it's like the meme with the girl. I think I said this last live, but it's like you're looking at the girl and it's like, wow, that's prettier and shinier than my current girl. MicroStrategy is volatility. That's all it is. But it's like every Bitcoiner is not a trader. And a lot of Bitcoiners are getting into MicroStrategy really late after it went through its pump. And so, but guess what? The hype boys are still talking about it. I'm like, that ship may have sailed. What if it sailed? And what if this is the thing that causes all people to get wrecked? And what's crazy about it is that we know as fast as it went up, if Bitcoin were to go down 5K, MicroStrategy, it was 5%, MicroStrategy is going down 15%. If Bitcoin goes down 20%, MicroStrategy is going down 60%. We've seen that before with miners, with futures, with all that stuff. Everyone ain't a trader, but everyone wants to be a trader because those are the people that control the narrative in the Bitcoin spaces. MicroStrategy is going to wreck a whole bunch of people, especially when now you have MSTX, MSTU. And I'll admit, I got MicroStrategy, but guess what? I bought it at the bottom of the bear market when Bitcoin is 15,000. I'm cool. So it's like, I don't care what it does. My trader buddy's like, you should have sold it. I'm good. But the catch is a lot of people who are listening to Punter Jeff and the black guy and whoever else goes on.
That guy?
I don't know. He's like this Morris or something, Andre Morris. Whoever's listening to those guys.
Who these people are, Ulrich. Like, what are you
It's
doing?
the algorithm. The algorithm is throwing it at me. No, bro. No, don't do that to me. You're
following MSTR influencers, bro. Like, you gotta get out.
I'm following other people who are following.
Never stop on a post. Never like anything that you don't think you're gonna like. You have to do it so quick because Twitter algorithm catches it. It's like, oh, they want to see more of that.
It's the idea that I stop
on anything.
And I probably shared it with someone. I said, look at this shit. Look at this shit. And it's like they got me. But the catch is, all I'm saying is that MicroStrategy is going to lead that bear market, and all those guys who are shilling MicroStrategy as this is the way to hyper Bitcoinization, they're going to disappear. They're going to pretend like they weren't talking about it. But
Okay,
yeah,
question.
that's it.
Question. Do you guys think it's just the people doing the MicroStrategy shit? Are they just trying to get yield on Bitcoin? Is this just another form of somehow getting yield on Bitcoin? Think about it. Right? Because he issues more shares. Like Bitcoin isn't making any more Bitcoin, but he issues more shares.
It's going to slow down the gains. That's all it's going to do. And even like, I mean, I saw a post from what's his name? Who is it?
Yeah, shout
Jeremy.
out Honk.
Tony
Shout out
was taunting you.
Honk. Buy and hold Bitcoin. Fuck all
Thank
this
you.
other nonsense. I'm with Honk.
Jeremy.
here.
Jeremy from Satoshi's Journal just posted like how he's going to keep on distributing debt and buy more Bitcoin. He's going to get 4% of the supply. But it's like, if you like, no one's selling that much. There's 2 million coins on the exchanges. So who's freaking selling that? Like, it's just like everyone thinks that we're going to go through hyper Bitcoinization through Sailor. Like, it's going to be diminishing returns. Like, for instance, I already saw when Bitcoin is going from 100 to 108. Like, it didn't for every 1,000. Yeah, it went down. We're done.
Top is in.
We're done.
At least, believe it or not, at least a local top, like for that stock, that was not a good sign. The fact it did not pump at Bitcoin's all-time high either means that the market is saturated with the shares, or the story right now, right, locally has run its course.
Nonsense. The price is 100K plus or minus 5. Cope.
I'm trying to do the trigger JPEG, dude. You know, the shakes.
Like, it's if you can't see that, like,
oh god, it's so embarrassing.
Don't have time.
It's not.
I love Bitcoin. Buy my MicroStrategy.
Yeah, that's all it is right now. It's not going to 2x. It's not going to 1.5x anymore, in my opinion. And if it does, it will be for a moment, because again, we'll go through this hype cycle for a moment, and all the regulars, they'll miss it. They'll miss that opportunity. So you all better sell MicroStrategy, because I know I am. I'm selling it all in 2025.
Look, MicroStrategy is for these like retired bros that like want to like, have frequent drawdowns on their portfolio because they haven't got income. Like if you're a Tina bro, then get some MicroStrategy.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of, because I think about this as well. What do you think about all the other companies that are obviously doing the exact same thing? Like
the Bitcoin magazine spinoff, what is it called?
Metaplanet, and then
Matador.
Matador, thank you.
Or something.
Semler Scientific, which Semler has a real product, right? Semler has a real product.
Like a real medical. Is there a medical company or something?
Yeah, it's I believe it's blood flow monitoring, or something like that. Yeah, blood flow monitors.
My understanding is like the like multiple is like worse for these companies than MicroStrategy, and that's just in part because MicroStrategy is bigger, so has access to better like capital markets, and so can borrow cheaper. And so,
also, Sailor's been a CEO for 3 decades, so he's got the inside
doing
line.
this slightly earlier as well.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think it's more about that. Like, the hack is cheap debt, right?
Yes.
Like, MicroStrategy gets like 0% borrowing. Like, it's nonsense. It's a hack.
Penn said front run.
But yeah, you're right. It is a hack.
Penn said front run Oleg can sell.
What's Sailor doing? What's Sailor doing? Sailor's selling stock and buying Bitcoin. So
that's right. He's selling U shares. It's kind of like Vitalik dumping his ETH and holding BTC.
Right, like MicroStrategy is just the Bitcoin Foundation. Like it's like the Ethereum Foundation, but for Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, it sounds terrible. But I do think that these companies, the better quality companies that are most likely going to come along and do this seriously, right? That choose to actually save their cash in Bitcoin, that have profitable businesses, I think that they are going to suck the fucking life out of MSTR. Excuse my language. Mm-hmm. I genuinely think so. And I've said this before, right? Because MSTR does not have, without Bitcoin, it is not this stellar business that you want to be holding that bag. That's just the honest to God truth. Before 2019, you wanted nothing, not you, just everybody, metaphorically wanted nothing to do with that bag. Okay. but then he started buying Bitcoin. So it's great for him, great for the marketing, great for all of this stuff. But I cannot help but see a day where better corporations that have better cash flow, better numbers come along and just eat their lunch. So, but of course somebody will be like, well, they can't accumulate Bitcoin as fast as MicroStrategy can. Yeah, well, we'll see.
No one's going to give them that. Hey, can you like, where are they getting this debt from? Like, it's got to be someone that there's a bank, right? And someone's going to say either they'll give it to them or they won't. Like, I just feel like they're going to explode, especially when Bitcoin goes back down, whatever it goes back down to. If it goes back down to 60K, 70K, people are going to look at that. Wow, you really got a whole bunch of shit that I don't really want no more. Because remember, the people who are buying MicroStrategy, they ain't hardened Bitcoiners. They're finance bros who are looking for, is it going to give me more dollars next week? And if they're not looking to hold during the bear market, they're not crypto winner. There ain't no crypto winner for them. That's just another that we ain't touching that. So it's like MicroStrategy will go down even further than what Bitcoin has a solid foundation for because of the culture, the religion that we are. MicroStrategy ain't got that. They ain't got no believers.
I don't disagree with that. I obviously agree with that, but it also got me thinking though. What about so there's Bitcoiners who stacked right back in 2011, 2012, or whatever it was, and they hodled, right? And they might be in a position where they're just at this point, right? For whatever reason, the human condition desires to, do other things, right? You feel that if you're not doing anything, you're not moving, right? You're not getting ahead. So I feel as though there's some Bitcoiners that are eventually going to want, for whatever reason, they're going to want to convert part of their Bitcoin to cash generating assets, right? Such as dividend paying stocks, or even cash businesses, stuff like that. What are your thoughts? Either of you.
Go ahead, Walton.
Someone.
I'll go.
He's like, go ahead, dude, because like we're both in the YouTube chatting to like, and he's like,
we're like,
I wasn't quite listening, Phil, so I'm gonna pass it over here because
it's just me and Matthew. Okay, me and Matthew are having this conversation. Nobody's talking to us. Okay,
no,
you know what? Fuck it. We're gonna bring Matthew on stage. Okay, Matthew can come and join me. We can have this chat, and then you guys go talk in the troll box.
I think that the possibility, the optimism of Bitcoin going to the next zero, the next million or 10 million is too near to home for people to leave that Bitcoin. But I'd say once we get into like the million range, people will say, well, this next cycle, I only expect to double my money. And, I'm trying to live large. So they're going to look at, how can I 3x, 4x, 5x? And they're going to be looking to technologies to do that, whether it's AI, whether it's e-vehicles or, whatever. And so I just feel like now those companies that also hold their savings tight in Bitcoin, so they're not losing it because the government is printing, they're going to be the difference makers.
Though? You think we can only like double like at some point? I feel like it's you can still keep going up and up and up.
You can keep on going up and up, but I just don't think that. I think it's going to be diminishing
to adopt it, right?
But that population also probably doesn't have much capital to throw at it.
You're frozen for me.
Oh, am I frozen?
Yeah, you got frozen. Yeah.
Oh shoot! Am I good now?
There we go.
Oh wow! Yeah, I saw. Yeah, my bad.
My internet's been screwy. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, it's weird. But yeah, I think the population that ain't touched Bitcoin yet will have essentially less capital, especially later on in the future when we have these inflationary times. And it's like
most capitals with boomers largely haven't touched Bitcoin. So I disagree.
But they'll be gone. It'll be dissipated. Like I don't think like that money, that control of that money in 10 years will be to Gen X. They'll be passing off to their kids.
Yeah, and then the state will be taxing it out of their hands.
Poorer people with the option to get to Bitcoin. I mean, I think that again, Bitcoin's going to these multiple 8 figures. I think I mean, I don't think it's 100 million. I don't think we're going to stop. We're just going to go on Bitcoin standard by then. But it's like, I think that these halvings, we're not going to get the 8x anymore. We're going to get a 1 million to 2 million one day, and that will be good. There'll still be a lot of, what is it called, market cap, but it won't be, it won't be the blowing your head off kind of thing. It'll just be like, yeah, it's a good investment.
So what you're telling me is we're never getting rid of the shit coins, because when I hear 1 to 2 million, all I hear is 100%. So someone's going to come and tell you about their shit coin that just did 4,000%. Right?
Yep. That's it. That's it.
I'm not looking forward to that part.
There'll always be, and there'll be more jokes. They won't even compete with Bitcoin. I feel like we've talked about that. Yeah, but they won't even be. They'll be like peanuts.
Look at what's happening. Matthew thinks we're too bearish.
It's time to be bearish.
Should we do the calls? Should we do the calls? I know, eh? We're like Uber bulls.
Like I'm so fucking bullish, dude. I walked into a place today with my dog. I ordered a glass of champagne, and like they were like, when I went to pay, they're like, "Hey, you have it on the house." No. Bitcoiners have aura, dude. We're going to the fucking moon right now. Like, we're making Bitcoin sexy again. We're back. I'm sorry. Like, cope, Matthew. Cope.
Okay, we cannot harass the crowd. Okay.
Yeah, but Matthew can cope.
So, but hold on. JD made a good comment, this is something that obviously Bitcoiners get very happy about. This is some good, solid hopium, right? When the gold ETFs were released, gold went on an 8-year bull run, right? So, look, Bitcoin 100 years better than gold. I mean, look, I can't disagree. Obviously, I love Bitcoin, so I obviously think it's way better than gold. Do I think that we do the same thing as gold with this 8-year bull run? I'd freaking love it.
What's the bull run? What was the percent gain?
I have no idea because I don't pay attention to gold. But the gold bugs seem to be really happy because now they finally crossed 4 figures, and you know what I mean. The pharaohs are finally rich. So
we're going to pass gold in like 4 years. Like, I'm not saying we're not still going to blow it out of the water, but what's 1 million to 2 million Bitcoin is still 21 trillion in market cap. Like, that's a lot. So
yeah, it is.
I don't think 1 million to 2 million in a cycle is bearish at all. Like, when you think about how much fiat equivalent that is, it's a lot of money going into it.
And if I'm not mistaken, and if I'm not mistaken, it takes way more money than what the actual market cap shows.
Yeah.
I don't remember what the exact formula is, but I remember looking at it.
There isn't a formula, but there's some sort of multiplier, right? Like, but you never know what it's going to be.
Thank you, the multiplier. But all right. We're going to wrap up soon, but I think before we do, maybe we can end this on because clearly we've upset Matthew, okay? And I'm not here to upset people. I'm just here to make people see them cope. So let's come up with why don't we do some price speculation? I don't have my charts up, but we can do some price speculation.
I always have my charts up.
Oh, do you? Okay, I don't have mine up when I can't do that when I do the show. But okay. So I don't know where we are now, but where do you guys think we will be? We'll make it interesting by New Year's. Okay. Specifically, I don't know. We got to pick a time that works for everybody. By Walton's New Year. I don't know what time zone that is.
That's closer to the actual, like.
You mean as in by like New Year's UTC, which of course is like the time of like Bitcoin. Yes, I'm with you on this. Yeah, sounds good.
I knew you would be. I figured you'd appreciate that. So do you have any thoughts? What do you think the price will be by that time?
I think it'll be about 1 Bitcoin.
Okay, so he's going with the 1 Bitcoin.
See, I don't mind talking about fiat values. Come on, Walton.
Like, dude, I don't care. Like, what do you mean? Like,
pretend to care.
Are you really not
care.
Just like
I don't care that you don't care.
End of the decade is like, hopefully it's 1 million. Like,
yes. Give a number.
Between here and there, I'm like,
yes. I'll say this. In a week, it's probably going to be at 97. I think it'll be up. It'll be 97 on New Year's Eve.
99.
We're not kidding. 100.
We're 99.
Okay, so all right, so 97, 99. I got you. I'm not going to give a prediction.
No,
I'm kidding. All right, my prediction.
Phil's going over.
No, I was actually going to go down. I was going to say it's like 91.
Oof, no, that would hurt
yeah.
my heart.
Yeah,
I don't like
I know,
that
me
one.
too. I don't like it either. And I want to desperately be wrong. I want everyone to fucking give me shit and be like, Phil, you're wrong. You're an idiot. You see that? We destroyed it.
You said Bear City Ballers.
I'm never listening to your takes ever again. You know, so
January though. What about end of January?
okay, so look, this depends if you speak to the angry Chihuahua. Okay, so if you speak to the angry Chihuahua, he will tell you that we're dead until April. Okay, he'll tell you that we're just going to sink to like 80K. It's going to be misery, blah, blah, blah. I don't actually buy that because that makes me not happy. So I want to be happy. So I'm going to stick with the idea that we're going to float and make a really nice support in the like 100 to 110K range kind of thing. Right? Because the 110, we'll hit the 110. That'll, you know, the normies will be all happy and they'll be like, oh my God, we got to pay attention to this thing again. And then we'll just kind of float around there. And then all of a sudden, starting in like April, May, it's going to be fucking showtime. That's my hopium prediction. I don't know what showtime means, but it's going to be good. So it's going to be good.
For me,
I'm not selling. What the hell? That's awful.
I think that
we have to shame him.
I think that when we look at the, I think that we're probably going to have a very nice, a solid January and a stupid crazy February. So I would say that we'll probably I'll say a 110 at the end of January, and then February it's going to be now normies' heads are going to blow up.
Yeah, so like when I said 130K by March, like about a minute ago. Yeah, it seems like you agree.
All right,
yeah.
I think Inspiring Formulas is a good, solid Bitcoiner. Always appreciate his takes. So
I think we're getting 170 at the end of February.
Oh, I think we're gonna peak later in the year. I don't think it's gonna be that early in the year. It doesn't make sense.
All right, we got Honk's endorsement on the 130 also, guys.
Q1's terrible for like a market.
I don't
peak.
think that's a peak.
Happening in Q1.
That's the thing. I don't think that's the peak.
Yeah, but you're kind of calling a local.
We're not doing it, ACP. We're not doing it. We're not all gonna have heart attacks just so you can watch a CP.
I expect the pump if Trump commutes.
Oh no, sorry, it was the Big Mac one. Sorry. Oh no, it was Inspiring Formulas. He wants to see the Big Mac eating competition live stream. I'm just letting him know we're not doing that. No, you already had a movie about the guy who ate Big Macs, and he's dead now. So yeah, we already know how that story ends. So not going there.
I lost that one.
What happened? The guy Super Size Me, the Super Size Me guy that ate the McDonald's. I mean, he didn't actually die from McDonald's, but he's
dead.
Passed away. Yeah, he did.
Oh wow.
So yeah. But anyways, away from unhappy things and back to happy things.
Yeah.
So you don't think that's the end? So you think it pumps higher? Okay. What about the credibility of what about the credibility to the idea that the market has already, essentially that we've already peaked? We've already peaked, or the other piece that I like to this is because we went to a new all-time high prior to the halving. That means that this cycle will end earlier. And some people are calling anywhere between June and October of 2025 the all-time high. I'm not going to lie. I don't like that. I think that sounds like crap. That doesn't make me feel good. So whether or not it makes sense,
going to finish. I don't think we're going to finish. We're peaking, I think, based on my video in September, man. When they do that stupid little conference, BTC in DC, go look it up. They're not advertising it right now, but they'll start advertising it probably after Vegas.
It's going to be in June, like it was going to be in April. It's going to be in June. You mean
it's
a DC conference?
There's a DC conference. It's
going to be
in September.
Policy one?
Yeah, I think so. They said September. They changed it.
I mean, I spoke to Zell last week and said it was. I could be wrong.
No, maybe that's different. Hold on. BTC in DC. BTC in DC. In DC.com.
Tony is screwing us
right now.
September 25.
Right now, we're at about 10th of the market cap of gold. Like, I think, like, realistically, we could go to 200K, like, or we could go to like more. Maybe we could be at like half the market cap of gold. What's that like? We're talking like 5x on here. Like, who knows? But like,
Damn.
I hate this conversation. What the
I
fuck
love
is this
it.
bullshit?
275.
This is the end of the show conversation, Walton.
All right, so it's going to the moon, guys. Sell your
Yes!
chairs, sell
Yes!
your kidneys. No, just
Yes!
one thing. You need to
MicroStrategy is
keep
going
one
to
of them.
die in the summer.
This is what people want, Walton. Okay, they want lots of hopium. They want to know that life is going to be great and that they're going to be
Well,
trillionaires.
Phil, then get us an
Okay.
exchange sponsor, because otherwise selling hopium is fucking meaningless.
For
All
this
of
one,
this is true.
I'll say I think this
All of
this
this
bull
is
run
true.
is more real than just hopium, because it's shown
Yep.
historically accurate that we're gonna have some gains in the price adoption. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very hopeful that people recognize that this thing isn't going away, and that's what these years are for. But they also have to be grounded and saying there is going to be a correction. The people that are here just for the fiat gains are going to leave, but for every 10 people that will leave, there'll probably be 2 people that'll stick around. It's like, why did this go up in the first place? And they stay forever. And I think that's the cycle encourages that, because people need to see things multiple times.
The hodler base.
Yeah. And that's why it's like it's the money for the people. I'm excited. But don't get too excited with all this MicroStrategy stuff. If y'all have it in 2025, sell it. Maybe I'll get sued by saying financial advice. No.
I mean,
y'all go
people
ahead
can
and
just
hold it.
see by looking at us that it's not financial advice. I don't know. I'm wearing a shirt that says the word retard.
I am bullish. One thing I'm
it's-
bullish on
yeah,
though is like more projects that like harness like state incentive programs to push Bitcoin. So I read about one, I think yesterday, some solar company that's based in California that basically takes solar grants from the state of California, puts a whole bunch of solar panels on people's roofs, 3 times what they're currently using for their electricity, mines Bitcoin with the remaining amount using like upstream data boxes, gives them 80% of the Bitcoin and keeps 20% of the Bitcoin themselves. And the people aren't paying anything. So they're just getting like free Bitcoin mining on their roof and,
that's amazing.
and free solar electricity. So yeah, if you're in California, sign up for that shit. Like, guys, we need to like accelerate Bitcoin using like bullshit state apparatus. I'm all for that. Let's go.
That is beautiful. Beautiful. And you know what?
Yeah, first thing I did, send it to TC. Yeah.
Okay, you know what? Guys, I don't think we could wrap up the show on a more bullish sentiment than that, right? That's better than any of the freaking price talk hopium right there. Actual use case. That is awesome. Walton with the sauce. Guys, that's going to do it for our Tis the Season Christmas special of Pleb Underground. And obviously we wish, our viewers and our supporters Merry Christmas and a safe, right? Have a safe Christmas, making awesome memories, all that good stuff. And we will catch you guys in the new year with more live shows, more Pleb Underground stuff and things. And I'm trying to think of anything else. Don't forget to check us out. Fuck Bitcoins. Don't forget to check us out on our audio-only platforms. Don't forget, if you want to stream us sats, check us out on fountain.fm. Ulrich, have anything to shill? And then I'll pass it to Walton if he has anything else to shill.
Make sure you watch Down with the Underground. We're going down in September 25. I'm just letting you know. That's first bear market first bear market video. I'm sorry. I had to be bearish.
Good Walton. All right, guys. Walton, any last thoughts? Or was that it?
Look, Merry Christmas, or whatever you celebrate, guys. Like, yeah, much love. We're going into 2025. I'm feeling very, very, very bullish. It's now officially Christmas Eve here in the United Kingdom. Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you for the support, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and love to everyone in the chat.